Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. This week, I have with me Jérémie Jakubowicz. I think I said that really badly. I'm going to do that again. This week, I have with me Jérémie Jakubowicz. He is the VP Data at an organization called ManoMano. They're an online DIY home improvement and gardening products retailer based over in France. Jérémie, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks for being here. So look, we're going to talk about using artificial intelligence for making decisions, better decisions at ManoMano, and the work that you've done to help your organization be able to do that. But before we get into that, why don't you introduce yourself and get us to know a little bit more about you?
Yeah, sure. So I had the pleasure to join ManoMano 2 years ago, roughly. Okay. I'm in charge of 3 teams: data science, growth engineering, and analytics, insight and advanced analytics. So I'm in charge of somehow the part of data where we put data into action, not the part of the data where we actually collect the data and make it available to the company, which is obviously a very important topic also that we will get to perhaps also. Before that, I worked at Vente Privée, VP.com. During 2 years or so. I had the occasion to set up the artificial intelligence department there, and before that I was a researcher, teacher in engineering school in France, Institut Mines Télécom Paris and Télécom Sud Paris.
Okay, so previously academia. Now into business. So yeah, it'd be great to understand that a bit more before we get into the ManoMano business. You stayed in academia after your own education, did you?
Yes, that's correct. So I was I loved math when I was a student. So I wanted to study math a lot, and at some point, it's due to change mainly, I made an internship in a company. It was in 2000. The company was called A2IA, Adezia en français. Okay. What they were doing was to recognize written characters in written script on checks to automatically recognize the entities. And so I had the pleasure to discover AI before it was the hype about that. And so it gave me the interest about applied math to get to know better how math could actually impact application. And the more I progressed, the more I was interested in the applications, to the point that at some point in time I realized that I was more interested in the impact and the applications that in the theory, and so I switched to be able to not be on the side, but really to go into the companies to help them use data and AI to be impactful.
Yes, and that's the important part. Of course, there's some very clever maths and science behind what happens in artificial intelligence, data science, but the application, the thing that it changes, the impact it makes is what it's all about. Otherwise, it's maths for the math's sake, right?
Yes, and at some point you have to choose, because it often happens that the simplest ideas and the simplest things are the most efficient ones. So at some point, if you are interested in somehow the sophistication of or the theory, you have to choose between something that is very elaborated and nice and complex, but oftentimes not really efficient, and sometimes it's very simple and efficient, yet not that elaborated. But if you are interested in the impact in the application, then it's easy to choose the side.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So talk to us about ManoMano, just as the business generally, what you guys do, where you're up to in your sort of journey and history, just sort of generally as a business.
Yes, so we are a marketplace. We are a European leader specialized in DIY and gardening and home improvement.
Okay.
Perhaps a few data points to illustrate. We have more than 50 million unique visitors per month. We have actually 7 million of active customers. We have 10 millions of products. We are lucky to work with more than 3,600 sellers, partner, because as we are a marketplace, we don't have products on our own. We work with sellers on one side and with users and customers on the other side. Among our customers, we also have a very special type of customers, which are pros. So in that case, we are B2B. We were lucky enough during the last year, during lockdown, to actually experiment an incredible growth. We have grown by 100% during 2020. Wow. So in 2020, we reached more than €1 billion of business volume. So the business volume is the sum of the transactions of the revenue of all the sellers we're working with.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, well, fantastic. Thank you. I didn't realize you were a marketplace, actually. I thought you were more traditional online retailer. So that's education for me. So thank you for clarifying that. In terms of data, then, let's get to that topic. And we sort of edge towards from you to business to data to AI. How important is data to the business, strategically, to the board, to the business, to the operations? And has that been a transformative journey, or is this something that's sort of always been there?
Yes, for ManoMano, data was there from the very early stages, the very beginning. The founders sometimes tell this story that I think it was in 2013 or 2014, very early stage of ManoMano. ManoMano was created in 2013. They went nearly broke, and they were only having €1,000 to invest in marketing, but very amazingly, they decided to split this €1,000 into buckets, into 100 buckets of €10, and to try to measure the efficiency of the various marketing channels, and this is how they discovered Google Shopping. At that time, Google Shopping was not the big thing that it's now, and so they found, using data, using this this measurement mindset, that one marketing channel was working really good, and so this is how the story started. And also there is another very important landmark point in our history, that we created our own bidding algorithm because when you put products on Google Shopping, you have to pay for the clicks, and you get to choose with a bidding system how much you want to pay for the clicks. Yeah. Well, actually, it's a little bit it's a little bit of a simplification, because since it's bidding, it's second price bidding, and generalized second price bidding, so you don't exactly get to choose the price, but let's simplify that for the sake of simplicity. So these are small amounts, let's say a few cents for each click, but there is a lot of clicks. So if you whether it's 5 cents or 6 cents actually makes a lot of difference in the end of the
volume. Yeah, when you hit volume.
Yeah, so you want to be able to estimate very as precisely as you can how much a given click is going to generate in terms of revenue. And the fair price is exactly that. So the expected revenue that you will get from a given click. And this is actually a perfect topic for AI and machine learning. Yeah. So this is what was done. And it was amazing. In 2018, I guess I didn't join ManoMano at that time. 2018, we made an A/B test against the algorithm created by Google, which is called TROAS, Target Revenue over Ad Spend, TROAS. Okay. And we won. I mean, at the same cost, we were generating 20% more revenue. But after that, the equilibrium was more in favor of Google, because of course they improved their algorithms. But it was key to realize that AI and machine learning was critical for our business, because this is partly thanks to this very efficient algorithm that we were able to grow that fast in 2018 and 2019.
So that's really interesting, because I know 2018 is a bit further into the journey than 2013 when you started the business, but there certainly feels like culturally and mentally, data has been part of the journey from the start. And I love that story of splitting that €1,000 into what was it, 100 £10 buckets, because I think it forces you to be really focused, laser focused on the outcome that you're trying to achieve, and where best to track, but also the acceptance that some of that won't win, but you're spreading your tests, you're spreading the opportunity you have to be successful, and you can track really clearly and then dial up the thing that works. And obviously that came to the head in building that bidding algorithm. So has that mentality maintained at that board level? Have they consistently and continue to be behind using data in that way?
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely correct. It's a mindset to before launching something, saying, okay, what do we want to measure? How do we want to measure it? And so thinking about the protocol, the measurement protocol at the design time, and not, we rushed and we were lucky enough to finish in time. Now, but wait, what was the impact of what we've done? We don't know, because we've already migrated, we've already done this or done that, and now it's complicated to evaluate in precisely, because if you don't think during design how you're going to measure, sometimes it's very difficult to measure a posteriori. So yes, to answer your question, it's still the case. We are really focused on measure and at all the levels of ManoMano. Sometimes even we are obsessed with measure, and we have to be careful, because wanting to measure everything might at some time kill innovation, because if you can't measure, then you don't launch. If you don't launch, you sometimes don't innovate. So we have to find some ways of balancing this.
Well, how do you balance that? Because it's a common challenge in data. I'm going to call you data native business, which is the phrase I like to use for organizations where data has been there from the start. It's in the DNA, it's in the mentality. All decisions are made. You use the word obsessed about measurement. A/B test everything, only scale the things that really work. But as you say, it can stifle innovation. It can be used as an excuse not to do something. How do you balance that?
Well, if we are able to use our historical data to kind of infer what could be, let's say, the behavior of users, the impact in terms of revenue or this or that, then we use data. We try to use data.
Like a proxy.
But sometimes we know from the get-go that it's going to be impossible to get the answer from historical data, because the change we are about to make is so brutal, so important that there won't be any causality. There won't be any hint in the history of what is going to happen. In that case, I think so we recognize that, because we say, okay, we can estimate, but it's going to be really biased. So in that case, we switch gears and we say, okay, what is going to be our ambition level? So we won't have the answer in the past. So let's look into the future. Into the future, what would we call a success? And if we are able to tell the success criterion, then we say, okay, the answer is not going to be in the data, but we are going to decide about the success criterion before launching, and then let's go during 6 months, 3 months, 1 year, it depends. And let's see if we want to double down or stop the initiative.
Yeah.
But in that case, we don't rely on data because it's impossible.
Well, I suppose it is still data, but it's data about what's happening rather than
exactly. It's forward data, not
yes,
past data.
Yes, exactly. I love that your answer to what do you do when you don't have the data was still use the data, which is brilliant, right? It's where you, but it shows a level of maturity and understanding about how data can and can't be used. You know, look at the historic data, but understand it's a proxy for the answer, not the answer. And set what your boundaries, your success criteria, as you say, going forward, so that you start to build up the measurement, build up the data, build up the understanding, so that you can decide whether to, push ahead or not. So that's a really grown up, and again, that's typical of a kind of data native organization, which is fantastic. So let's talk about. Now I've got a bit more context, and listeners have got a bit more context about the ManoMano business and what it sounds and feels like to be at a data native organization. Other than bidding, because that's a great example, but I guess that you've got lots of examples like that you do. How have you applied either artificial intelligence or just good old, insights to the organization? What have those use cases been? How's it impacting the organization or customers? It'd be great to sort of hear a few examples that you've got, if you can.
Sure. So perhaps if I try to take some height, I would say we have mainly two use cases. One is automation. Sorry. In French, it's automatiser, so automation, and the other is a decision. Sometimes it's mixed, because if we are able to decide fast, then we could automatize. But there are many decisions that we are not taking each day or each hour or each week regularly. We are taking one shot, and so I would say this is the most. This is the distinction. The main distinction I would like to make is data for decision taking or data for automation. So let's give some examples in the two families.
Great.
Data for automation. So data for automation, we are building products to that. Actually, it's a kind of there are APIs that you query and give answer in or either real time or at scheduled time. A few examples. So search engine are relying on data, because if you only use the terms of the query and the terms you have on the product, you are going to end up with a poor search engine. You need to take into account what the users did when they hit the same query on approximately the same query to re-rank your products according to past behavior of users. So search.
So this is just to clarify, this is search on your platform. So someone's looking for garden tools, and they do a search, and this is how you rank the results or what you serve up to show them, right?
Exactly. So it's our own search bar in the yes, you're correct. And so this example is interesting because it's transparent for the user. The user they don't care whether it's AI or this or that. They just want to have relevant product. But it turns out that if you don't use the data, the behavioral data from your users, in my experience, you don't get a good relevance, a good search engine. So we use off-the-shelf products to get started on the search part, but we complement this off-the-shelf tool, this paying tool, with our own data layer on top of that to re-rank the product according to past behavior.
You make it smarter with your own data, with history of
we try to
behavior.
recommend.
Is that based on the individual's past behavior, or is that based on the behavior of people that previously searched for that kind of thing? Is it sort of more general, or is it targeted in that way?
So we don't need personal data for that. We just need statistical hints about this type of query, this family, but we don't rely on, we don't care who typed the query. We are just interested in the link between the terms of the query and our own catalog, and how to make it more relevant without caring about the who part.
Okay, right.
Also, you have another related type of automation, which is recommender system. So you browse this product, perhaps you are going to like this other kind of product, and this is more actually about user data, because for that there is a common link between this product and this product, is that some user hit this product and then this other one, or it's sometimes just popularity. These are the most popular products independently of the user. So we have several. Actually, we don't have one recommender systems. We have many of them, and each one is crafted with a particular goal. So whether popularity recommendation or lookalike, etc., etc. So recommender system, search engine. You also have something that is very important that is working under the hood, which is a mapping from the taxonomy of the sellers and our own taxonomy. When you're a marketplace, it's very important that you have the right tools to scale. Scaling for us means having more users, of course, but also dealing with more sellers on the other side of the marketplace. And each seller has its way to talk about products, to define attributes for a given product, to define a category for a product. And it's not necessarily exactly aligned with our own way, with our own central way of defining products, what the category of product belong to, what is the attributes of a given product. Yet on our front end, on our site, it's one taxonomy, our own, not the seller's one.
Right.
So we need to have a mapping. And if you don't have a tool to automate that, you are going to need someone working with its seller taxonomy and making the mapping manually. This is very costly.
Yeah.
And so we are, to be precise, we are not able to solve that fully automatically because it's very complex actually, but an algorithm do the most obvious part of the mapping, and we need actually a few people to make the last mile. But it's yes, it's a very important use of automation. After that, you have many, not many, but you have other use cases. I'm not going to perhaps to detail them, but you need to be able to proactively get in contact with your clients, your customers, when something goes wrong. Luckily, rarely the case, but it happens that there is a delay in a delivery. There is a product that the customer wants to send back, etc. And we need to be able to as rapidly as possible answer to this kind of queries from our customers, or even better, to guess them, to predict them.
Right.
And this is also about automation, being able to categorize, okay, what is this customer wanting when he's calling the customer services, or what customer should we call before she or he calls, because we know that there is a
proactively monitor and take action rather than just react. Yeah.
After that, there is a fraud detection, but this we don't deal with ourselves. And yeah, this is pretty much the use cases that we have at ManoMano. But if we look, we have data, this kind of use cases at each step of the chain, because we have a chain going from the seller that is sending products that we are mapping, presenting on our front. So with this taxonomy mapping, then selling on marketing channels. So in this case, it's bidding, and then our own site, search, recommender system, and then to the customer, and perhaps sometimes even to the send back part. So this automation I was talking about is everywhere on this chain. So this is automation. And also we have the other big family, which is decision taking. And so these are completely different challenges, because the challenges I mentioned is you have to have very robust APIs. You have to be able to scale, to answer to perhaps many requests at the same time, to adapt to data drifts, model drifting. So data is not exactly, don't have exactly the same statistics over time. And you have to be able to monitor that. All the field that is now training and known as ML ops or AI ops, sometimes even data ops. And so this is very important for automation. For decision taking, these are completely different challenges. So you have to take one decision, perhaps, let's say at each month, but usually it's one shot. Should I open this new category of products in this new country? How much should I invest in my various marketing channels? And you don't necessarily, you can, but you don't make new investment on for, let's say, TV spots each hour or each day. You have at some key moments in the year a decision to take. And in that case, data is helping us a lot too, but it's not about automation. It's about one-shot analysis. And in that case, you don't necessarily, as you said, sometimes it's very simple, but you don't necessarily expect AI or deep statistical modeling, but it happens. Let me give you one example, if we have the time.
We do, yeah, go for it.
So imagine you're interested in, we mentioned a delay in the deliveries. Hopefully it doesn't happen that much, but it happens. So in that case, we had a question, which is, okay, what is the impact on our customers when they suffer from a delay in delivery? What is going to be the impact on their repurchase? And of course, we expect that when this kind of bad events happen, the repurchase is going to be impacted negatively. And so if you take this question, as I did, with a very naive viewpoint, you are actually going to end up with a very surprising outcome. So imagine you just make two groups. One group of customers, all the customers that never had any delay in the delivery in all their orders, in all their past orders, which is the vast majority. And another group, which is all the customers that for one order at least experienced a delay in the delivery. And you compute the repurchase rate of your two groups. Well, this is what we did. And we were amazed to discover that the repurchase rate of the groups that actually suffered the delay in delivery was higher.
Wow.
And so
and that's of something different rather than just rebuying the thing that I had a problem with.
Yes, and so I scratched my head and this is not possible. We have a problem with the data. We have a problem with the SQL query. We have the problem with the group by, I don't know what. So it took me days to understand something that is actually very simple, but is that we have a selection bias. The two groups are not homogeneous. It's the same thing when I imagine if you sample all the car accidents, you will have more good drivers in the group of the car accident. Why? Because the more you take your car, the highest the chance of at some day having an accident. Yeah. So if you look at all the people who had a car accident, you will get more frequent driver in this in this group. And it's the same for us. For our most repurchase, so for the customers who repurchase naturally more, they have more chances to, as for one order at least, having a delay in the delivery. So in this small group, we actually have more frequent customer by design. So when you realize that, you say, hey, the fix is very simple. Now, okay, sorry, the methodology was indeed bad. We shouldn't have made these two groups because it's kind of the most naive way to answer the question, but it's not good statistically. So you say, okay, I'm going to compare someone who just bought one time and didn't experience a delay in the delivery, and with someone that bought one time and unfortunately experienced the delay in the delivery. And now you do that, and actually you have your figures in the right order, except For people who bought 4 times or more, it's still in the reverse order, meaning that people that bought 4 times and experienced a delay repurchase more than people that bought 4 times and didn't experience a delay. So in that case, you say, okay, now we have again this problem, and you deep dive and you realize that, okay, people who bought many times, 4 times or more, actually are not buying exactly the same kind of products. And they are buying products that are heavier, more bulkier, and more difficult to transport, and more delay prone to deliver. And so in that case, you realize that you have to fix something very deep in the methodology, because you can't, and I realized how many wrong analyses I shipped before this very interesting experience, is that it cannot be that you make the analysis and if the outcome is counterintuitive, then you deep dive. It's not a solid framework. Yeah. So you have to have some tool that is able to de-bias, to make analysis everything else being equal. And this is very well known from econometrician. This is very well known for old-fashioned statistics, but these tools are very powerful, and you have to use them even for simple analysis when you can do a controlled experiment, when you can do an A/B test, and when you have this bias and that you need to de-bias a posteriori. Well, whether you want it or not, it's actually a complex topic.
Yeah. Well, it's a great example of something, as you say, that should seemingly feel quite simple, of the repurchase rate on problem deliveries. In some ways, I used to work for a big retailer, and the brand was very, very strong, and the question was kind of, how bad do we need to be for people to stop buying? It was kind of the other way around. It was like, we know people are quite they accept there will be problems, and the ones that are very good brand advocates will, there was a group of people that would just keep buying regardless and get a bit annoyed, but they'll keep buying. There's a group of people that, and there was quite a lot in that group, but what we didn't know was the group of people that just bought, tried once, had some problems, and then, went and shopped at the competitor. So it's a really very, very interesting problem to solve.
Very similar, because you have to kind of a hidden variable, which is a kind of to what group you belong to, and you don't know that when you are the observer. You observe the mix, but you don't know exactly who is who in the various
one,
groups.
Of course, and there's complexity of customer lifetime value, and the product range that they're buying into, as you say, bulky items versus not. There's small purchase, there's size of the purchase, there's distance from the shed, there's sort of all these complicated data points that might change the nature. So it's, I guess you have to unpick that piece by piece. I think where I'd love to sort of finish this conversation is in how kind of almost how you're set up for the success you've had, and the how you are today, and how you these kind of problems that you've got. They don't, this isn't one person with a spreadsheet trying to work these things out. So really interested to know sort of how you're set up, the structure, your operating model, where data sits in the organization, and just kick that about for the last sort of few minutes of the discussion would be great.
Sure. So yes, organization matters. There are 2 very important things that need to be straightened: is the tech stack and the organization. So the tech stack is about the lowest, the part where you need to actually store, collect, transform data. If we think about data as a Maslow pyramid, with the most basic needs but very important needs at the first, the foundational part of the pyramid, and the more elaborated needs on top. The most basic needs is actually to be able to collect and store the data, and this is easier said than done, because when you have that much users browsing your website or application, it generates a lot of data. So to be able to scale and to actually don't lose data, and to have data of quality, you need to have good products, good tools. So tech stack is very important, and so for me, operating in the cloud in this context of hypergrowth is you don't have the choice. You need to have something that is very elastic, Otherwise, I don't know. I wouldn't know how to do my job with a fixed on-premise architecture when the growth is so intense.
Yeah.
So the tech stack, actually, the data warehouse tools also matter to be able to query the data warehouse efficiently, to be able to share amongst the data users, and we are a lot using data at ManoMano, as we mentioned before. So we need to be able to exchange information. Okay, how do you compute this? How do you compute that? So to share knowledge about SQL request, about the way we query the data. So we have to have a good tech stack. And then we also need to have a good organization. And good organization means that we actually have two types of activity. One is which is really platform related. So and the platform stakes are scalability, are availability, robustness, etc. And the other is actually getting to know the business needs very precisely, very closely. And for that, we can't really understand business if we work in an ivory tower. If we have all the data peoples are in the same room and sometimes talking to their business counterparts at coffee machine, but apart from that, always talking between themselves. So it's very important for the analytics part, the decision-taking part, and also for the automation, that people work together. And so when you make data products, like I was talking about the search engine, the recommender system, you need to really work with feature teams, with product teams that are in charge of this part of the website. And so you need to have data people working very closely, very matricially with these teams. And when you're talking about marketing investment, how much should I invest on this marketing channel, this other? You need to have your analysts working really closely with their functional business counterparts. And so I really believe in this matriciality, where of course you have the management part, which is very oriented about the hard skills, so that your analysts can know exactly what they need to, how they can improve, being more technical on this point, on that point. We were mentioning everything being equal analysis. How do you do this? How to do this kind of analysis? How to distinguish between mix and perf effects? All of that, you have to have a management that is oriented about hard skills. But then your analyst should be deployed within the organization. So they report to a manager that is able to help them grow with their hard skills and their work. But all the day long, they work not with their managers, but with the business and with the functional team they are partnering with. And I think this is important.
Yeah, it's definitely, as I say, it's a trait of a data native business, working in this way, much more cross-functionally, much more working towards a business outcome with all the people that are needed in order to solve that business outcome, including analysts and data folk and subject matter experts and commercial brains, all of those people together to solve the problem, rather than this kind of idea of creating something, chucking it over the fence for the next person to do something with it, chuck it over the fence for the next person to finally make a decision. So it's great to hear that that's sort of the way you're working. Are you kind of in the kind of Spotify squads and sort of that kind of squad setup, or is it slightly different?
Yes, it's a little bit different. We used to say we do things à la mano, which is our own way.
Yes.
In that case, I think the Spotify organization is very interesting. In our case, it would be a little bit difficult to implement it exactly as described.
Because, as always,
so we have to adapt to the size. So if you kind of distribute the organization too early, it's complicated because you need to create the culture, the data culture first, and that all your data analyst or your data scientist, your machine learning engineer know exactly how to manipulate the same stack. And because if you send these two data scientists inside this feature team, and they are using this kind of tool, and the two other data scientists are using, let's say, another tool, let's say TensorFlow for the first one, PyTorch for the second one, and you don't have homogeneity, so it's very important that you have some common ground before distribute. But I think it's the idea of the Spotify organization to have a very transversal management, but a very homogeneous one also. So we are implementing things perhaps with the Spotify, the same spirit than the Spotify organization, but in the detail, not exactly in the same way.
Yeah, for sure. That's always the best way to implement an idea, model, or framework. So great. Cool. I guess just finally, I just finishing where we started actually on your sort of journey from academia. Do you still have hooks and links with academia? Do you still engage with either your previous organization that you institutions rather that you used to work for, train at, or some or others? Do you still sort of connect with them?
Yes, it's actually a very important topic, because one of the key I think one of the key elements to be able to maintain and help grow a data team is to also keep innovating, because all these guys are kind of geeks which are very interested in knowing this new methodology, this new tool, etc. And maintaining a link with academia is one way for me. It's natural for me. I'm sure there are others, but is one natural way for me to keep having this new, fresh air from what is being built inside the lab. So we work with a researcher that help us first getting to know if there are new methods or new very exciting tools, concepts that are being developed in the laboratories. And also just to have the opportunity to talk with them. We don't do that weekly, but just monthly, to have some guy from academia to talk, to explain our problem, to have their viewpoint, is very enriching. And so the data team love that. What I really struggled, now I realize I forgot to mention something important to me, is that what was the most challenging part for me is a kind of the difference of mindset between academia and companies and business and startups and scale-ups, in that in academia, kind of the worst mistake you can do is to be wrong, or actually to write something wrong about something. So you have to be extra careful, and you have to develop some muscles that train you to doubt about everything. The famous Cartesian doubt. So you even the most straightforward looking things, you learn how to doubt about them. Okay, is 1 + 1 really equal to 2? No, perhaps I'm exaggerating, but you are able to put everything into question.
Right.
And in a fast-growing scale-up startup, you need to go fast, and so it's not that you cannot doubt, but you have to have some strong convictions to embark to drag the group. Yeah. That's why I think when you get to politics, you can't answer, or it's very rare that you hear people saying, I don't know, because okay, if you don't know what we're going to do collectively, because you're the guy or the one supposing to lead us, so what are we going to do? It's very it gives anxiety. Yeah. So I had to personally to learn how to switch from this Cartesian doubt attitude to a more to having more assertivity, more convictions, to be able to embark the teams, the group. So it was my own challenge going from academia to scale-ups.
Well, it sounds like you've managed to make that transition really well, and it's been an absolutely fascinating discussion. I'm so motivated talking to organizations that are, as I say, this data native term, where it's so embedded, it's so natural, it's so understood. It doesn't mean it just happens, but it means that the level of understanding and acceptance is there so that you can build the foundations and do some really interesting and innovative things. So, and absolutely fascinating. And thank you very much for sharing your story, Jeremy.
And Jason, it was really a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much for this very nice conversation that we had.
No problem, and thanks everybody for listening. I hope you got loads of insight and tips from this great conversation, hearing about ManoMano and from Jeremy. Hope you enjoyed this show. Can't wait to talk to you again sometime. Thanks everybody.